France just witnessed a political earthquake that's sending shockwaves across Europe. And this is only the beginning of what could become the most turbulent chapter in Emmanuel Macron's presidency. In a stunning display of parliamentary defiance, lawmakers delivered a crushing blow to Prime Minister François Bayrou's administration on Monday, voting overwhelmingly to topple his government with a decisive 364 to 194 margin. But here's where it gets controversial. This wasn't just about politics. It was about whether France should impose painful austerity measures on its most vulnerable citizens to appease financial markets. Bayrou's downfall centers around his ambitious, yet divisive plan to slash a staggering 44 billion euros from the national budget. That's roughly $52 billion that would have come directly from social programs and public services. The 74-year-old centrist leader had essentially bet his entire political career on convincing Parliament to approve these deep cuts, arguing they were essential to tackle France's spiraling debt crisis. And this is the part most people miss. France's financial situation is far more dire than many realize. The country's deficit has ballooned to nearly double the European Union's strict 3% limit, while its national debt now represents a crushing 114% of the entire economy. Bayrou warned legislators in dramatic fashion before the vote, declaring that France faced a life-threatening financial emergency that demanded immediate action. "You possess the authority to topple this administration," Bayrou told the packed National Assembly chamber. "But you lack the power to make our harsh economic reality simply vanish." That reality will remain unforgiving. Government spending will keep climbing, and our already crushing debt burden will become even more expensive and suffocating. Yet Parliament wasn't buying his dire warnings. Critics from both ends of the political spectrum, from Marine Le Pen's far-right national rally to Jean-Luc Mélenchon's hard-left France Unbowed, united in their opposition, though for vastly different reasons. But here's where it gets controversial. Were they right to prioritize social protection over fiscal responsibility? Or did they just condemn France to an even worse financial crisis? The opposition painted Bayrou's austerity blueprint as fundamentally unjust, arguing it would disproportionately harm France's working class and most economically vulnerable populations. Even traditionally conservative lawmakers, who typically align with centrist policies, abandoned Bayrou when push came to shove, making his defeat not just comprehensive, but politically humiliating. This collapse marks another embarrassing chapter for President Macron, who now faces the daunting challenge of appointing his fifth prime minister in less than 2 years, a revolving door that's becoming increasingly difficult to explain to frustrated French voters. Remember, this follows Michel Barnier's brief 3-month tenure that also ended in parliamentary defeat, creating a pattern of governmental instability that's unprecedented in modern French politics. Mélenchon didn't mince words in his post-vote reaction, taking to social media to declare, "Macron now stands directly in the crosshairs of public anger. He must step down as well." Meanwhile, Le Pen demanded immediate snap elections, proclaiming that this moment signals the final end of a zombie government's painful death throes. But the real question isn't just about French domestic politics. It's about what this means for European stability and global financial markets. Political analyst Hugo Drocon from the University of Nottingham highlighted a crucial concern. Financial markets aren't primarily worried about which specific policies get implemented, but rather that someone, anyone, actually addresses these mounting fiscal challenges. They want leadership that can deliver a functional budget and restore confidence. And this is where things get really interesting. Macron's options moving forward are all problematic in their own ways. He could attempt to court the Socialist Party, but that would require significant policy compromises that might alienate his centrist base. Alternatively, he might try appointing another center-right figure, but given Parliament's current composition, that person would likely face the same insurmountable obstacles that doomed both Bayrou and Barnier. The immediate aftermath promises to be chaotic. Trade unions are already organizing strikes and mass protests for the coming weeks, adding social unrest to France's growing list of challenges. The new prime minister, whoever that might be, will inherit the exact same parliamentary mathematics and fiscal constraints that proved impossible for their predecessor to navigate. Perhaps most concerning is the broader pattern this represents. France, once considered a pillar of European Union stability, is increasingly looking ungovernable. The country's political system seems incapable of producing the tough decisions necessary to address its mounting economic challenges, creating a dangerous cycle of governmental paralysis. Macron has already ruled out dissolving parliament again, a decision that could be seen as either politically wise or a sign that he's running out of democratic options. With growing calls for his own resignation echoing across the political spectrum, the president finds himself in an increasingly isolated position. So here's the million-euro question that France and indeed all of Europe must grapple with. Is this the inevitable result of trying to implement necessary but painful economic reforms in a fragmented democracy? Or does it represent a fundamental failure of political leadership to build consensus around difficult but essential policy changes? What do you think? Are French lawmakers right to reject austerity measures that could harm vulnerable citizens, even if it means risking the country's long-term financial stability? Or should they have supported Bayrou's tough medicine approach, regardless of the social costs? And perhaps most importantly, can any leader successfully navigate France out of this political and economic maze, or is the country heading toward an even deeper crisis? Share your thoughts on whether democratic governments can still make hard choices when the political costs are this high.